What's good, you guys? Yesterday was mail call day and I got in a sneaker that I am hyped to talk about. I wanted to shoot this video yesterday and was even going to do an unboxing first reactions to it, but I bought it used, and as soon as I opened the box up, I was like, oh damn, this could go either way. It might be funny for you guys to have seen that reaction, but it wasn't funny for me. But anyways, I sorted all those issues out. I'll get into that later, and now I can make this video. The model that we're talking about is literally my favorite sneaker model that exists. I have a bunch of them, so I had to get another colorway and add it to the collection. The sneaker we're talking about today is the New Balance 860 V2 Dime Collab. Now, for those that don't know, Dime is a Canadian-based brand. It was founded back in '05 in Montreal, Quebec, and it started as like a skate crew slash skate shop and then just turned into the full-fledged brand that we know now. I'm somewhat familiar with it. Maybe some of you know a little bit more about it. When these shoes originally came out, that was back in August 2020, and they released in this colorway and another one that's like a silver and white. I might pick those up in the future, but this one was just fire. I've just taken to calling these the Midnights, and I don't usually wear dark shoes, especially black soled shoes, but these are just so much more than that in hand, and you'll see in a second. Now, like I said, I have a lot of 860 V2s, but the first thing that makes these stand out to me from the rest is these black overlay panels, because if you look closely, they have like a raw metal kind of texture to them that I think just like gives the shoe another level, because if it was just black and blue, it'd be kind of simple. And that texture to that paneling carries throughout the whole shoe, from the lateral side to the medial side, by the eye stays, and even on the heel. And the subtle contrast that you get then with the midnight navy mesh that goes throughout the shoe is so sick. And then you have the traditional kind of dashing on these overlay panels in that yellow that just give it like a city street vibe at night. Now, there's a couple interesting things to talk about on the lacing system and the tongue, and number one is the laces themselves. You get this super premium plush kind of lace, which I just love. It's on all of my other 860s, which are all Emilion doors, so I don't know that that comes on GRs. Maybe someone could let me know in the comments if it does, but in my opinion, this is like the perfect lace. I've put this on other models to elevate it, and just even comparing to other New Balance models and the laces they come with, I feel like any mesh runner should just automatically get this lace. The other thing about these that's different than all my other 860 V2s is the top of the tongue. First of all, it's way thinner, and you get this giant rubberized panel that has the Dime and New Balance logo stamped in on it, and that's something that I didn't even know until I had them in hand, but I just thought that was another nice elevated hit to it that kind of separates these from the rest. And in general, the co-branding on this shoe is very minimal and subtle. On the tongue, you have that, which we just talked about, and then moving to the lateral heel where you got the 860 V2 branding, you get the classic Dime tag, and then there is co-branding on the insoles, but otherwise they kept it pretty minimal with this. Now, the midsole is one that I'm sure you're all familiar with, even if you don't have an 860 V2, because it's actually the identical midsole that they use on the 1906R and the 2002R. But as far as this colorway specifically, that midsole and outsole just comes in a straight murdered out flat black color, and then on the shank plate you get a more glossy black. And lastly is just that classic 860 V2 color blocking, where the middle portion of the upper on the lateral and medial has that heavier mesh. In this case, it's blacked out, and then you have that yellow outline on the N logo. And the last thing you might not notice about these until you have them in hand is the lace color itself. I mean, I might be seeing things, but in my eye, compared to the black paneling and this like obsidian mesh, the laces sort of appear to be a really, really dark shade of blue. They're not actually black, and I think that choice is just one of those other subtle things that just make these hit. So now that you've seen that close-up footage and how clean I was able to get these, I am gonna put up some footage of what they looked like when I got them. Hence why I didn't make the video yesterday, because these things needed a deep clean, and they were stinking, and just, oh, I had to get the lint shaver out on the sock liner. At the end of the day, I was like, these got to go in the washing machine. There's no way I can just scrub these and get that smell out and just have them be fresh and new. So just so you know, you can throw this whole shoe in the washing machine. I did wrap it up in some towels and stuff. My buddy Dak had already done it, so I knew that it was gonna work. And if you're worried about that toe box getting creased up, it's more about just protecting it with the other stuff you add to the load to kind of make sure that that doesn't happen. But in my case, the toe boxes turned out fine. And if you're really following New Balance closely lately, this colorway might look a little familiar. And that's because the new Emilion door RC56 that came out in 3 colorways, one was this. I swear to God, they're identical. I've been working on getting an RC56 to do a review on. I was gonna get the green and yellow, but so far I've missed twice on sizing. So I was able to find these used. I think all in, I paid about $160, but if you look at the scarcity and the pricing on StockX or GOAT for brand new ones, I think that was a pretty good deal. I mean, of course I had to clean the hell out of them, but I guess that was the cost of admission for the deal. Now I feel like this model is super slept on for some reason, but I want to give you a few more details to kind of help explain why this is my favorite shoe. Like I said, this model shares the exact same midsole and outsole as the 2002R and the 1906R, but some of the big differences come in the upper. So for the 1906R, that one, I feel like it gets puffed out depending on the material they use on the upper. Sometimes they change it to like this fatter, thicker, tighter mesh. Sometimes it's just the classic open mesh like this one, but it varies and it kind of gives a different aesthetic to the shoe and fit and feel kind of when you're wearing it. And the 2002R, that one's not bad, but I just am not a fan of how that looks aesthetically, and I feel like the shape of the toe box on that model is kind of bulbous. You do get a lot of room in there, so it's nice in that way, but just for me, it's just ain't it. But when it comes to these, the reason that they are my favorite is number one, that open mesh that is super breathable on the toe box and the sides of the upper, so your foot has plenty of room to breathe. And secondly is these overlay panels, because they're so thin and flexible, this shoe really moves with you. There's nothing resisting you when you're walking in it, versus maybe the 1906R, like I said, how that mesh can change from model to model. When you get to that thicker mesh, you could get a little bit of resistance on there. I'll show you an example of what I mean. So this is just a version of that varying mesh. You have the Salehis with that tighter mesh, and then you have the ALDs that have that classic open mesh. And if you can see that, even just in general, that kind of bulk that I was talking about, like they look slimmer when they're not being worn, but once you put your foot in there with this thicker kind of mesh, it bulks out. These don't really do that, but these have that same kind of open mesh traditional style that these ones have. And that bulk kind of really does bother me on foot. I mean, I put up with it for these because this is like my grail, but just in general, I prefer this over this. So when you're looking at models to get, I mean, be kind of mindful of what that material is looking like and made out of. But with the 860 V2 in general, that's just another plus in my opinion, is how slender this model is. If you look at it compared to the 1906Rs, you can just kind of see in general whether or not they have the exact same midsole and outsole, it still just gives this sleeker look, which I prefer to this. So this is the original insoles that come in it. You get the New Balance on one and Dime on the other, but I just wanted to show these. I am pretty proud of how these turned out compared to what they looked like. Gross. And I know I tend to harp on the use of the all day move insoles, and I'm going to continue to do that because I swear to God, it just makes a world of difference in this shoe and in most of my shoes. If you look at the difference of just your standard flat foam insole versus the move insole, you get so much more thickness, and it just has such a better like rebound to it, and you get this plate that honestly is just, it makes bad shoes feel comfortable. Put this in some shitty Jordans that fit terribly and you don't like them, you put this in there, it makes a world of difference. All I'm saying. But overall, this is just another dope colorway of a model that I absolutely love, and I'm glad to add it to the collection. And if some of you out there are 860 V2 heads like me, then you got to look forward to the new ALDs they teased. I don't think there's an official release date, but they got two colorways coming out, and that black with the lime and pink, that one's looking super fire. And if you watch my previous video where I talk about Hidden NY and I compare all of his collabs together, I did say I'm gonna do more videos like that, and I have almost all of the ALD 860 V2s, and I do want to do a video on that, but that's going to take a lot of time because that's like the most of the same shoe that I have. But if you guys just want to drop it in the comments and let me know if you really want to see that full breakdown, I will get on it before I do some more singular shoe reviews. But anyways guys, that's going to wrap it up for now, and remember, life's short, so buy the shoes.